Arrival on Zythera. The stars stretched endlessly before Rylan Cross as he piloted the small exploration shuttle toward an unknown planet. His heart beat steadily, though he felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. Humanity had sent him to the edge of the galaxy, not for war this time, but for discovery. The coordinates were unusual, an uncharted world glowing faintly in the scanners, called Zythera Prime. As the shuttle entered the planet's atmosphere, the view outside the cockpit window changed dramatically. A violet sky, streaked with silver clouds, stretched across the horizon. Towering crystalline structures reflected the sunlight in dazzling patterns, creating a landscape that seemed almost magical. Winds, heavy with an unfamiliar energy, whipped against the hull, making the craft tremble. Rylan gripped the controls firmly, keeping his focus sharp. He had trained for combat, for survival, but nothing could have prepared him for the beauty and alienness of Zythera. When the shuttle touched down, the ground beneath shivered lightly, as if the planet itself were alive. Rylan stepped out cautiously. The air was breathable, though it carried a strange metallic scent. Strange plants with translucent leaves swayed gently, and the sky above shimmered with faint, glowing patterns, like constellations in motion. Suddenly, the ground near him began to shift. Massive figures rose into view, gliding across the crystalline terrain. They were unlike anything Rylan had ever seen. Queen Lythera appeared first, towering above the others, her form elegant yet commanding. Her skin glimmered like polished metal, and her eyes shone gold, reflecting the alien sun. Every movement she made seemed precise and powerful, radiating authority. "You are far from home, human," her voice echoed, not just in his ears, but directly in his mind. Rylan froze. His military training had taught him to stay calm, but this voice bypassed logic and reached straight to his consciousness. I am Rylan Cross of the United Earth Forces," he replied, struggling to maintain composure. Queen Lythera's expression did not change. "Your arrival was expected, yet unforeseen. Few humans have ever crossed the void to Zythera Prime. Your purpose will be decided by our council. Follow me." Despite the shock of the encounter, Rylan obeyed. He followed her across the crystalline landscape, the ground pulsing faintly with each step. Other figures emerged from the shadows, tall, lithe, and shimmering with a soft glow. These were the citizens of Zythera, and their gazes held a strange mixture of curiosity and judgment. As they approached a massive crystalline palace, the scale of the structures became clear. Towers of transparent crystal reached skyward, refracting light into dazzling patterns. Bridges of solid light connected platforms in the air. It was a city that seemed alive, not built, but grown, harmonizing with the planet's energy. Inside the palace, Rylan was led to a grand hall. The walls pulsed faintly with energy, and strange symbols floated in the air, shimmering like holograms. The hall was filled with Zytherans of varying forms, all observing him silently. Queen Lythera approached the center of the hall and raised her hand. The other Zytherans bowed in unison. "This human," she said, her voice echoing in the chamber, "carries potential that could shape the future of Zythera. He is strong, intelligent, and resilient, but his path is not yet clear. It will be tested." Rylan's mind raced. He had faced countless enemies in his career, yet this was different. There were no weapons drawn, no battles fought. Still, the power in this room was overwhelming. He was alone, a single human among beings far more advanced, both physically and mentally. "Your species is remarkable," Lythera continued, "but alone humans are fragile. Together we can create strength. Your role here is not simple, it is vital." At that moment, Rylan realized he was no longer a visitor. He was a participant in something far bigger than he could yet comprehend. The decisions he made, the actions he took would resonate across species and worlds. He was led to a smaller chamber, where he could finally rest. The room was minimalistic, yet elegant. A faint hum filled the space, and as he lay down, he felt the energy of the planet seep into him. Sleep came quickly, though his mind buzzed with questions. What did Queen Lithra mean by "your role is vital"? What future awaited him on Zithra? In the middle of the night, he awoke to a soft, golden light. Standing at the edge of the room was a young Zithran female, Salira, newly adult and chosen for reasons Rylan did not yet understand. Her eyes met his, not with hostility, but with calm curiosity. "Do not fear, human," she said gently. "You are not here by accident. The Queen has plans, and your courage is required." Rylan nodded slowly, realizing that his mission had changed. He was no longer just exploring. He was a part of a larger story, one that involved cooperation, trust, and challenges unlike any he had faced. The dawn came, violet and silver streaking the sky. Rylan stepped onto the balcony of the chamber and looked out over the city. He was alone on a strange world, yet he felt a strange sense of destiny. Zithra was alive, intelligent, and observing him. And he, a single human soldier, had arrived at a crossroads of fate that would define not just his life, but the future of two worlds. For the first time, Rylan understood. Survival was not about fighting alone. It was about embracing the unknown and stepping forward into the impossible. As the sun's twin rays reflected off the crystal towers, he tightened his grip on his suit, took a deep breath, and prepared to face whatever the Queen and her world would demand. The arrival on Zithra was only the beginning. The court of Zithra. Rylan Cross followed Queen Lithra through corridors of glowing crystal. The walls pulsed gently, as if alive, reflecting his own nervous heartbeat back at him. Every step echoed softly, though the silence carried a weight heavier than any battlefield he had ever faced. He could feel the eyes of unseen observers, the energy of the palace flowing around him like an invisible river. They entered a vast hall. It was unlike any human construction. Towers of clear crystal rose to impossible heights, interconnected by bridges of light. The floor shimmered as if made of liquid glass, and floating symbols hovered in the air, shifting like stars in a miniature galaxy. Hundreds of Zithrans of different forms lined the edges of the hall. Some resembled Rylan's memories of humans, but with translucent skin and glowing eyes. Others were more exotic. Elongated limbs, faceted faces, and bodies that seemed to bend light itself. At the center of the hall, Queen Lithra paused. Her golden eyes scanned the room before settling on Rylan. A hush fell over the gathering as she raised her hand. "This human," she said, her voice deep and resonant, carrying authority that demanded attention, "has arrived from a distant world. He represents a species that is young, yet courageous. His strength and intelligence may serve the future of Zithra." The crowd murmured softly, a sound like the wind through crystal towers. Rylan felt the energy in the room pressing against him, an almost physical force. He swallowed hard. This was no ordinary court. This was a judgment, a test, and a welcoming all at once. Queen Lithra gestured, and three figures stepped forward. Salira, the young adult female he had already met, led the group. Beside her were Zyra and Caliph, both newly adult females chosen by the Queen for their strength and intellect. Their eyes glowed with a quiet intensity. Rylan realized that these were not just citizens, they were the future of Zithra. "You will participate in our most sacred tradition," Lithra continued, "the integration of the next generation. This is not punishment, nor simple duty. It is an honor. Through you, we will strengthen the bond between our species." Rylan's training screamed caution. Every fiber of his being was alert, but he also sensed that these beings did not speak lightly. There was no cruelty in their intent, only the unwavering logic and purpose of a species focused on survival. "You mean what exactly?" Rylan asked, keeping his voice steady, though uncertainty rippled through him. "You are to assist in the continuation of life," Salira explained gently. "Our newly adult females have reached maturity, and the Queen has determined that traits of your species are necessary to enhance the next generation. You are chosen for your strength, resilience, and intelligence. You are not coerced, but the choice you make will echo through the future of Zithra." Rylan's mind raced. He had faced moral dilemmas in war, but this was something entirely different. It was not combat. It was a responsibility that carried the weight of survival for two worlds. Queen Lithra stepped closer. We do not force. We test. You will undergo trials of mind, body, and spirit. Only then will your role be fully understood. Those who pass may join us in the sacred duty of integration. The Zithran court then demonstrated the first trial. The chamber transformed, walls dissolving into a floating arena suspended in mid-air. Platforms rotated slowly around a glowing central pillar. Rylan realized the trial was both physical and mental. He would have to balance, jump, and think with precision in zero gravity, while the arena constantly shifted and tested his reflexes. Salira and the other females observed silently, their expressions serene yet attentive. Do not fear, Salira said. This is not meant to destroy you, but to teach. Each challenge will show you the way forward. Rylan felt the rush of adrenaline he had known in combat, but this was different. There were no bullets, no enemies, only the planet itself and the alien intelligence guiding him through unseen forces. Each leap, each careful movement, forced him to adapt, to synchronize his human instincts with something entirely foreign. Hours passed, though he could not tell how much time had really gone by. He fell once, recovered, and finally reached the central pillar. When he touched it, the arena vanished, and he found himself back in the main hall. The court erupted, not with applause, but with a deep, resonant vibration that seemed to acknowledge his success. Queen Lithra's voice echoed again. You have learned the first lesson. Courage and adaptability are vital, but the greatest trial lies not in skill alone. It is in understanding, empathy, and connection. You must know our people, and they must know you. Rylan realized that his journey was only beginning. He was no longer just a human soldier. He was an ambassador, a bridge between two worlds. And while the court watched him silently, he knew that the choices he made here would determine not only his fate, but the fate of Zithra itself. Salira stepped closer once more, her silver-like skin reflecting the light around her. Do not be afraid, Rylan Cross. You are not alone here. Your courage brought you to us. Now, let it guide you forward. For the first time since his arrival, Rylan felt a strange sense of hope. He had come as a stranger, uncertain and cautious, but he would begin to understand this alien world, its people, and the profound responsibility that had been entrusted to him. As the twin suns of Zithra Prime set, casting violet and gold across the crystal towers, Rylan stood in the hall of the court. He was no longer merely observing a new world, he was part of it. The trials had begun, and his story on Zithra was just unfolding. The first encounter. The early glow of Zithra Prime's twin suns bathed the crystalline city in shades of violet and gold as Rylan Cross prepared for his first personal meeting with the newly adult females. He had completed his first trial in the court of Zithra, and while his body ached from exertion, his mind was alert. The alien world was no longer just a mystery. It was becoming a reality he could not ignore. Queen Lithra had summoned him to a private garden within the palace. A serene space where translucent plants swayed without wind, and pools of liquid crystal reflected the glowing sky above. There, Rylan was introduced properly to Salira, Zyra, and Caliph. Salira stepped forward first. Her skin shimmered like silver, and her eyes, deep and golden, held intelligence far beyond Rylan's initial expectations. She moved gracefully, with the poise of someone fully aware of her importance. Rylan Cross, she said softly, yet her voice carried the weight of authority. We have observed your actions in the court. You have courage. That is why you are here. Rylan nodded, trying to suppress the unease that twisted in his chest. I am honored, he replied. The words felt inadequate. How could he express the mixture of fear, awe, and curiosity swirling inside him? Zyra, standing slightly behind Salira, studied him silently. Her skin had a soft, lilac glow, and her eyes were like liquid amethyst, reflecting the light around them. Honor is not enough, she said, her tone calm, almost melodic. You must understand why your presence matters. We are not asking you to serve lightly. What you do here affects the future of both our species. Caliph, the third female, approached last. Her form was elegant and taller than the others, her eyes sharp and curious. "Do you comprehend the responsibility you carry?" she asked. There was no malice in her words, only a probing question, as if she were weighing the depth of his character. Rylan inhaled deeply, steadying himself. I understand that I am here to assist, and that my actions have consequences," he said. "I will do my best to honor your trust." The females regarded him silently for a moment, their expressions inscrutable. Then Salira smiled faintly, a small gesture that felt reassuring. "Good," she said. "You will need courage and empathy. The trials are not only of strength but of heart. You must learn to connect, to understand, and to respect what is required of you." Rylan's mind wandered briefly. He had been trained for combat, for missions where obedience and survival mattered most. But this was different. It was a challenge of understanding a culture, an alien species, and a new form of connection that went far beyond what he had ever imagined. The young females led him deeper into the garden, past pools of liquid crystal and towering plants that hummed with energy. "The integration," Salira explained, "is not simply physical. It is an exchange of knowledge, emotion, and energy. The Queen chooses only those who can accept this fully. You are one of the few humans capable of such a task." Rylan felt a mix of fear and responsibility settle in his chest. He had faced enemies armed with weapons and armies, yet nothing had tested him like this. He had to navigate unfamiliar social and cultural rules while carrying the weight of survival for two species. As they walked, Salira touched a crystal flower, and it shimmered, reflecting the light in dazzling patterns. "Zithra teaches patience," she said. "It teaches observation and understanding. You must learn to see what is not spoken. The court watches, but it also guides. You are not alone, though the path may seem lonely." Zyra added quietly, "You will form bonds with us. That is the next step. To integrate, you must connect. You must accept who we are and what the Queen requires. Only then can you succeed." Caliph observed him carefully, her eyes sharp and assessing. "Your species is young," she said. "You have potential, but potential alone is not enough. Actions matter. Courage is measured not in battle, but in willingness to face the unknown." Rylan realized she was right. Every mission he had undertaken in the military had been preparation in a way, training his mind, his body, and his spirit. But nothing could have prepared him for the delicate, intricate, and deeply alien challenges ahead. Salira stopped by a small pool that reflected the sun's. "Look into this," she said. "It shows more than your reflection. It shows what you carry inside. Strength, doubt, courage, all of it. To succeed here, you must understand yourself first." Rylan stared into the liquid surface. His reflection wavered and shifted, showing not just his face, but faint images of distant stars, alien landscapes, and choices yet to be made. He understood then that Zithra was testing more than his body. It was testing his mind, his resolve, and his heart. After a long moment, Salira stepped closer. "You are ready for the next stage," she said. "You will learn more of our ways, our history, and the duties you may soon be asked to fulfill. But first, you must observe, learn, and accept the path laid before you. Only then will true connection be possible." Rylan nodded. A strange sense of calm washed over him. He was still wary, still unsure of the future, but he felt a thread of trust forming between himself and the Zithran females. For the first time, the alien world felt less threatening and more like a place where understanding and cooperation could create something extraordinary. As the suns dipped lower, casting long shadows across the crystalline garden, Rylan realized the gravity of his situation. He had crossed the stars and landed on a world unlike any other. He had faced the court of Zithra, survived the trials, and now stood on the threshold of a new understanding. The first encounter was complete. The next stage of his journey, a journey that would test his courage, his mind, and his very humanity, was about to begin. Rylan drew in a deep breath of Zithra's alien air. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he would meet them. Not as a soldier alone, but as a participant in a future that bridged two species, two worlds, and perhaps even two destinies. Trials of the mind and body. The morning suns of Zithra Prime cast long violet and gold streaks across the crystalline city as Rylan Cross prepared for the next stage of his journey. The court of Zithra had tested his courage, but now the queen demanded more. The trials ahead would challenge not just his body, but his mind and spirit, a test to see if he could truly belong to this alien world. Queen Lithra met him at the edge of a massive arena, suspended in midair by unseen energy. Platforms of clear crystal rotated slowly, some spinning too fast for a human to keep pace. The arena hummed with energy, a living thing shaped by the will of the Zithrans. "You have proven courage," the queen said. Her golden eyes reflected the twin suns. "Now you will prove adaptability, intelligence, and understanding. The trials are not punishment, but preparation. You will learn what it means to carry responsibility beyond your own species." Rylan's heart pounded. The arena seemed impossible, but he knew hesitation could be fatal. He stepped forward, feeling the slight tremor of the crystal beneath him. The first trial tested balance and agility. Platforms shifted unpredictably, suspended in midair, some glowing with energy that threatened to push him off. Rylan leapt, slid, and grabbed with precision, relying on instinct honed from years of military training. Each movement required quick thinking. Each misstep could send him plummeting. Observing him silently were Salira, Zyra, and Caliph. Their eyes followed every motion, not as critics, but as guides. Salira whispered advice through a mental projection, a connection only Zithrans could establish. "Feel the energy. Move with it, not against it." Rylan adjusted his stance, letting the energy of the arena guide him. Step by step, he navigated the treacherous platforms, reaching the glowing central pillar. The first trial was complete. Though his muscles ached, he felt exhilaration. He had survived, but he knew the mental trials would be far more demanding. Next came a test of intellect. The arena transformed, walls dissolving into a shimmering labyrinth of floating symbols. Rylan realized these symbols were puzzles, shifting patterns of logic that required reasoning and intuition. He studied them carefully, recalling every lesson in strategy and problem-solving from his military days. Hours passed, or perhaps minutes. Time seemed meaningless here. Each puzzle unlocked another, revealing hidden pathways in the labyrinth. The Zithrans did not intervene directly, but he could feel their attention, guiding and observing. The final symbol glowed brightly, and as Rylan touched it, the labyrinth dissolved. A deep vibration echoed through the arena, a signal of approval. The last trial was one of empathy and understanding. The arena transformed yet again, this time into a scene of Zithra's history. Holographic projections showed the struggles and triumphs of the Zithrans, from the earliest colonization of their crystal cities to the formation of the court. Rylan watched families, leaders, and citizens making sacrifices, facing dangers, and creating bonds. Salira's voice whispered in his mind, "See not just the facts, but the emotions. Understand our choices and our needs. Only then can you walk beside us as an equal." Rylan focused, letting the images wash over him. He felt the weight of responsibility, the depth of loyalty, and the importance of connection. He realized that these trials were not merely tests of skill, they were lessons. The Zithrans were teaching him how to think, feel, and act as one of their kind, without losing his humanity. Hours later, when the trials ended, Rylan collapsed on a platform, exhausted but enlightened. He had been tested in ways no soldier could have anticipated. His body ached, his mind was taxed, but he had learned to see the world through alien eyes, and he had begun to understand the delicate balance between duty, empathy, and courage. Queen Lithra appeared beside him, her golden eyes reflecting pride. "You have passed the trials of mind and body, but the greatest challenge lies ahead, not in the arena, but in connection. You must now bond with those who will carry the future of Zithra. Strength alone is not enough. You must understand, respect, and guide." Salira, Zyra, and Caliph approached him once more, their expressions calm yet filled with expectation. "We are ready to teach you," Salira said. "The next stage is not about tests but about trust. You will learn from us and we from you. Only then will the integration begin." Rylan stood slowly, feeling the weight of responsibility settle upon him. The trials had prepared him physically and mentally, but the real challenge, the challenge of heart and connection, was just beginning. He had crossed the first threshold of understanding Zithra, and now he faced the most profound test, becoming a bridge between two species. As the twin suns set, casting long golden reflections across the crystalline arena, Rylan looked at the three females standing beside him. The journey ahead would demand courage, wisdom, and empathy beyond anything he had faced before. But for the first time he felt ready, not just as a human soldier, but as someone who could help shape a future where humanity and Zithra might thrive together. The trials had ended, but the journey, the true journey, was just beginning. Bonding with the adult offspring. After surviving the rigorous trials of mind and body, Rylan Cross felt a mixture of exhaustion and determination. The arena had tested his strength, intelligence, and empathy, but now a new challenge awaited. A challenge that demanded trust, understanding, and connection. Queen Lithra had made it clear. His role on Zithra Prime was no longer merely observational. He was to bond with the newly adult females chosen to carry the future of their species. Salira, Zyra, and Caliph guided Rylan through the palace to a quiet wing of the Crystal City. This area was designed for reflection and learning, a serene space where the alien architecture harmonized with natural crystal formations. Pools of liquid crystal reflected the twin suns, and plants with translucent leaves emitted soft, calming glows. "You have passed the trials," Salira said gently. "Now comes the true task. You must learn our ways, understand our history, and connect with us. Not as a visitor, but as a participant in what we must build together." Rylan nodded, understanding the gravity of her words. I am ready to learn," he said, trying to steady his voice. Though he was a soldier, he realized that this mission required a very different kind of courage. The first step in bonding was shared experience. Salira led him through the gardens, teaching him about the plants and crystals, not just as resources but as beings with their own subtle energies. Zyra guided him through a meditation practice unique to Zithra, focusing his mind and senses, helping him attune to the planet's rhythm. Caliph shared stories of Zithra's history, its struggles, triumphs, and the values that shaped their society. Through these interactions, Rylan began to understand that the integration process was far more than physical. It was cultural, emotional, and spiritual. To bond with the adult females meant to respect their world, their intelligence, and their expectations. As days passed, Rylan's relationship with the three females deepened. They laughed together during simple exercises, shared knowledge about the stars and the universe, and sometimes sat in silent contemplation, feeling the energy of Zithra around them. Rylan noticed subtle things: the way Salira's eyes reflected thought, how Zyra's movements synchronized perfectly with the flow of crystal energy, and the quiet determination in Caliph's presence. One evening, as the twin suns set, Salira approached Rylan. "You carry more than courage," she said softly. "You carry respect. That is what the Queen values most. It is not enough to act. You must understand, guide, and protect. The bond we form is based on trust, and you have shown you can be trusted." Rylan felt a surge of humility and responsibility. He had faced armies, hostile planets, and impossible missions, but nothing had taught him the depth of patience and understanding like this. Here, survival was not just about strength, it was about connection, empathy, and collaboration. Over time, he observed subtle changes within himself. His thoughts became more deliberate, his senses attuned to the world around him, and his perception of relationships deepened. The young adult females were no longer strangers. They were guides, teachers, and partners in a mission that spanned species. Zyra spoke one day as they walked through a hall of glowing crystals. "Integration is not a duty alone," she said. "It is an exchange. We learn from you as much as you learn from us. Your perspective strengthens ours, just as ours strengthens yours. This is the path forward for both our species. Caliph added with a calm smile, do not think of this as a burden. Think of it as responsibility, the highest form of respect for life, for culture, and for what is yet to come. Rylan realized the truth in their words. Every action he took, every lesson he learned, was shaping a bridge between humanity and Zithra. The bond he was forming with Salira, Zyra, and Caliph was not just personal. It was foundational to the survival and evolution of two worlds. Days turned into weeks, and the bonds strengthened. Shared experiences, mutual respect, and understanding formed an unspoken connection that transcended words. Rylan knew that soon he would face the next stage, the actual integration, but he now understood that the foundation had been laid. He was ready not just physically or mentally, but emotionally and spiritually. As the sun set one evening, casting long golden shadows across the crystalline landscape, Rylan stood with Salira, Zyra, and Caliph. The journey that had begun with fear and uncertainty had grown into something profound. He was no longer merely a soldier, he was a part of Zithra's future. And the connection he had formed with the adult females would guide him through the challenges yet to come. Rylan took a deep breath, feeling the calm energy of the planet. The trials had ended, the bonding had begun, and the next stage, the true integration, was only a step away. The responsibility was immense, but for the first time he felt ready to embrace it fully. The universe had brought him here for a reason, and on Zithra Prime, he would rise to meet it. The decision of the Queen. The crystalline halls of the Zithran Palace shimmered in the light of the twin suns as Rylan Cross stood before Queen Lithra. After weeks of trials, bonding, and learning, the moment of judgment had finally arrived. Every step he had taken on Zithra Prime, every challenge he had faced, had led to this moment. Queen Lithra's presence was overwhelming. Her golden eyes seemed to pierce through him, not with scrutiny alone, but with a depth of understanding that left him both humbled and alert. Rylan Cross, she said, her voice echoing softly in the vast chamber. You have walked the path few humans could endure. You have faced trials of body and mind, and you have formed bonds with our newly adult females. You have learned what it means to carry responsibility for more than yourself. Rylan straightened, feeling the weight of his journey in every muscle and thought. I have done my best, Your Majesty, he said. I have tried to understand, to respect, and to honor the trust placed in me. Lithra's expression softened ever so slightly. Best is not merely about action. It is about comprehension, courage, and empathy. You have demonstrated all three. That is why you stand here now, not as a guest, but as one who may take your place in the next stage of our people's future. Rylan's heart pounded. He had anticipated challenges, but the reality of this decision, the weight of it, was immense. The integration was not a simple duty. It was the foundation of a bridge between humans and Zithrans, a task that carried the survival and growth of two species. Salira, Zyra, and Caliph stepped forward. Their presence was calm yet commanding. Salira's eyes met Rylan's, and in that glance, he sensed encouragement, understanding, and trust. You have proven yourself worthy of the next step, she said. But remember, this is not an obligation. It is a commitment. To accept is to shape the future. Zyra nodded. The choice is yours, Rylan. Your courage has brought you here, but your wisdom and compassion will determine the path forward. Integration is both responsibility and honor. You will carry the legacy of this decision for both our worlds. Caliph added, We do not coerce, but we trust. Your actions have shown you are capable of that trust. The decision is now yours. Rylan took a deep breath, thinking of everything he had experienced on Zithra Prime. The trials that tested his body, the labyrinths that challenged his mind, and the bonds he had formed with these extraordinary females. He realized the significance of his choice. To decline would be to reject a destiny larger than himself. To accept would be to embrace a responsibility that went beyond humanity. He looked at the three females, seeing in their eyes the lives, hopes, and futures intertwined with his own actions. I accept, he said firmly. I will carry this responsibility. I will honor the trust you have given me and do everything I can to ensure our shared future thrives. Queen Lithra's golden eyes gleamed. Your decision reflects not only courage but understanding. You are ready to step beyond the role of a soldier, beyond the limitations of your species, and into a new chapter. Today, you are no longer merely human. You are a bridge between worlds. The queen raised her hand, and the hall shimmered with energy. The crystalline walls glowed brighter, and the air pulsed softly. Rylan felt a connection unlike anything he had experienced. It was as if the entire palace, and perhaps the planet itself, acknowledged his commitment. Solyra stepped closer and placed a hand on his arm. This is the beginning, not the end. Our bond, our responsibilities, and our shared mission will guide the next steps. Together, we will face what the universe may bring. Zyra added, what you have accepted is more than a duty. It is a partnership. We will learn from you and you from us. This is the path to strength, survival, and understanding. Kalitha's calm voice concluded. Remember that courage alone is not enough. It is empathy, wisdom, and respect that will define your success. You have shown all three. Now, you walk forward not as a visitor, but as one of us. Rylan's chest swelled with a mixture of pride, humility, and resolve. He had crossed the stars, faced unimaginable trials, and now embraced a responsibility greater than any he had ever known. He was no longer just a soldier of humanity. He was a participant in the future of two species. Queen Lithra's presence filled the chamber as she spoke one final time. The choice has been made, and the path has been accepted. You will join the integration ceremony, where your bond with Solyra, Zyra, and Kalith will be recognized and solidified. Go forth with courage, Rylan Cross, for your actions today will echo through the generations of Zithra and Earth alike. As Rylan stepped forward, guided by the three females, he felt the weight of history on his shoulders, but also the exhilarating possibility of shaping the future. The trials were over, the bonds had been formed, and the Queen's decision had set him on a path from which there was no turning back. The twin suns set behind the crystal towers, casting a golden glow across the city. Rylan Cross, human soldier turned ambassador and bridge between worlds, walked toward a destiny that would define not just his life, but the fate of two civilizations. The universe was vast and full of unknowns, but for the first time, Rylan felt ready to meet them all. A new beginning. The twin suns of Zithra Prime cast long golden rays across the crystal towers, bathing the city in shimmering light. Rylan Cross stood alongside Solyra, Zyra, and Kalith, the three newly adult females who would become his guides, partners, and the future of Zithra. The palace thrummed with energy, reflecting the significance of the moment. Today was not merely ceremonial. It marked the beginning of a future shared by two species. Queen Lithra descended from her elevated throne, her presence commanding yet serene. Today, the bonds we have forged are recognized, she said, not as a single species nor as conquerors, but as collaborators. You, Rylan Cross, and these young adults will carry forward a legacy of cooperation, strength, and understanding. Rylan felt a mixture of awe and humility. He had crossed galaxies, survived trials that challenged his body and mind, and bonded with beings far different from humans. Now, standing in the heart of Zithra Prime, he understood the true meaning of the Queen's words. The integration was about more than survival. It was about unity, trust, and the creation of a new shared destiny. Solyra stepped forward and placed a hand lightly on his arm. Her golden eyes met his. The future is no longer separate, she said. It is ours to shape together. What we begin today will echo through generations. Zyra added, every action, every choice we make from this moment will carry weight. But together, we are stronger than either species could ever be alone. Kalitha's voice was calm yet powerful. Courage brought you here, Rylan. Understanding and empathy will guide the way forward. Let this ceremony mark not the end, but the start of a journey that will unite two worlds. Rylan took a deep breath, feeling the energy of the planet itself surge through him. He had never imagined that a soldier's path could lead to something so profound. It was not about weapons, wars, or conquest anymore. It was about building bridges, creating bonds, and ensuring survival through cooperation. The integration ceremony began. Crystalline platforms rose slowly from the ground, glowing with soft energy, while the palace resonated with harmonic vibrations that seemed to connect every being present. Rylan and the three females joined hands, a symbolic gesture of unity, as the energy of the planet flowed through them. He could feel the connection, subtle yet powerful, linking his thoughts, emotions, and intentions to Salira, Zyra, and Caliph. It was not just physical. It was a merging of understanding, respect, and purpose. In that moment, Rylan realized that the trials, the teachings, and the bonds had all been leading to this. He was now part of something far greater than himself. Queen Lithra observed silently, her golden eyes gleaming with satisfaction. The future is shared. Through these bonds, humanity and Zithra will thrive together. The universe is vast, and challenges are inevitable, but unity is our greatest strength. Rylan felt a surge of resolve. He was no longer merely a human soldier on a foreign planet. He was a participant in a new story, one that would define generations, shape civilizations, and create a legacy of cooperation and mutual respect. The twin suns set behind the crystalline spires, casting long shadows that intertwined with the light. For the first time, Rylan understood the full meaning of courage, not just in battle, but in accepting responsibility, forging trust, and embracing the unknown. He looked at Salira, Zyra, and Caliph. Together, they would face whatever the future held. Together, they would carry the hopes of two species. And together, they would ensure that the journey of humanity and Zithra would not just survive, but flourish. As the ceremonial light of the palace bathed them in gold, Rylan Cross smiled. The universe had changed him, and through him it would change others. This was the beginning. A new chapter had begun, not just for him but for both worlds.